So we're live from the Shack Shack, and today we're going to talk about "On the Beach" by Neil Young, and this was his fifth album. Came out in 1974, after Harvest, and actually, their "Tonight's the Night" wasn't released, but was recorded before this album. But he decided to do this album first because "Tonight's the Night" is a rather dark album, and this sort of fits in between Harvest and Tonight's the Night because he released that after On the Beach. So Harvest was really sort of a well-produced album, and I think Neil Young kind of turned away from being famous, or really with Heart of Gold and all that kind of stuff. He kind of turned his back around, which kind of you can see in this photograph. He's got his back to the camera.
Yeah. It was a controversial album amongst the musicians and the producers, and I think the players that are involved with this. It definitely has a different flavor.
Yeah, definitely.
Than On the Beach or Harvest and the Gold Rush.
Yeah.
And it's kind of not complicated, but
it's a hard album to get a handle on, and we've both listened to it a lot in the last couple of weeks, or the last month actually.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there's still things you can still learn about the album as you listen to it over and over and over again, because it's different.
Yes, it is different.
And it's hard to describe.
Each song is kind of in a place of its own. Although it still flows pretty good through the album. It's not like you don't feel like you're jumping, but
it's like a stream of consciousness kind of lyrics.
Yeah.
They go along, and then all of a sudden they sort of change directions a little bit.
That's right.
And they're coming out basically as he's sort of thinking him or writing them down. To me, anyways.
Yeah, I can see that.
Walk On is more of a traditional kind of song for this album.
Yes, and that's a great song. I like it.
I do too. Yeah.
I think and Walk On, it's more about well, as you mentioned, it's a rebuttal to the
to Leonard Skinner.
Leonard Skinner's rebuttal
to Sweet Home Alabama.
Exactly.
And he says, I hear some people are talking me down.
Right on.
And I'm pretty sure that refers to Leonard Skinner talking about him and Southern Man. And
that's right. Yeah.
And so there was a little bit of back and forth there.
Yeah, a little bickering.
But actually Leonard Skinner, there's Ronnie Van Zant is actually wearing a Neil Young T-shirt around that time. It's like
banter more or less. Maybe probably nothing.
Creates a little controversy.
That's
and a little, up the sales.
All that stuff.
But I mean, the songs on Walk On the Beach are, I think, kind of abstract. Most of them.
Yeah.
After Walk On, they become a little more. It's a hard album to pin down, really.
Yeah, well, we've got See the Sky About to Rain, and then we've got moves into Revolution Blues.
About Charles Manson.
About Manson and Laurel Canyon and all that area where all this stuff was going on in the 70s.
Yeah.
So he's telling us about it more or less.
Yeah, and it's coming out kind of almost, like I said before, like an abstract way of saying it, because he's not really saying Charles Manson, but that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. He's not naming any names per se.
Dune buggies and all kinds of stuff going on. And For the Turnstiles, I know that's probably your favorite of the album.
That is my favorite. I just think it's a great song talking about sailors and sea hags and sirens and so on and so forth.
Leaving Home to Play, I think, is sort of behind it a little bit, going out on the road for the Turnstiles.
Yeah.
Stripped down to just banjo and a dobro, and I like that sound.
It's nice and clean.
It's more typical Neil Young.
It is.
Really.
It is. Yeah.
And then,
if I could just mention as well on Revolution Blues, he's got some heavy duty weight backing him up.
Yeah.
Like he's got David Crosby playing guitar on there, Rick Danko, Levon Helms on drums.
Mm-hmm.
So that flavor, and of course he already had played with David Crosby, so there's
comes through
a cohesiveness in there and it's kind of driving.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
Yeah. So
and it's a riff, and it just kind of. A lot of these songs are based on like an idea,
Yeah.
and then he just kind of flows
Yep.
out the lyrics and just stretches
Plays
them out.
off of it all the way
Yeah.
through, sort of thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's
yeah.
that's what makes it really different.
Yeah,
I think.
true enough. Yeah.
And then
yeah.
the second side opens up with Vampire Blues.
Vampire Blues. Yeah.
I didn't realize it, never really thought about it, but it's about the oil industry
Yeah.
sucking blood from the earth.
Yeah.
I never
Sell
really
you
thought of
$20 worth.
with
He
the
says.
barrels and other
yeah.
barrels.
And I really didn't like that song when I first heard
Yeah,
it
you
because
said
I
that,
wasn't
yeah.
I wasn't quite sure where he was going with it,
Yeah.
but I actually like it quite a bit now.
Yeah.
It's sort of my second favorite
Yeah.
on there because he's really slamming the oil companies and I think he's slamming those that are being disrespectful to what's going on here.
Environmental kind
All
of thing.
that
Because
type
he
of
was
thing.
right into that as he went along
Yeah,
more and more. So.
yeah, yeah.
And then we go into On the Beach, and that's the title cut, and that's another abstract kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's talking about alienation and I see a crowd of people, but
Personal.
I turn away because
Yeah.
after it's like
Yeah.
he's like
He wants the adoration.
Right.
He wants the recognition from the masses, but
But-
he just as soon be a one-on-one.
let's
or
go back to
away
the farm and just leave me alone type of thing.
as it's shown here on the
Yeah, he's-
album with his, as you mentioned, his
his
back
back
to the
to-
people.
And
to
there's
the,
this car sort of stuck in the sand, and it's just
Yeah.
and there's a hanger
Yeah.
there to hang his nice yellow suit.
yeah, it's sort of a musical Dali cover, you know.
I'm always fascinated by this cover,
Yeah.
and it's really
Yeah.
so simple.
Yeah,
And then he's got the back with his name is on
yeah,
the back,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
there's a palm tree or if I think
In
it's
a pot,
tree,
yeah, it's
in
a palm
pot.
tree. Yeah, I know, it's hilarious.
It is kind of a
Yeah.
kind of a
It's quirky,
yeah,
quirky. Yes,
surreal
yeah,
kind
yeah,
of bent
yeah,
to it though.
yeah.
And then we come on to motion pictures,
Motion
which
pictures.
is obvious.
I like that's
That's a very nice song.
a nice song, a good story, and it's a romantic sort of ballad.
But it sort of has a depressing side to it too. 'cause
Absolutely,
His relationship with Carrie Snodgrass was breaking up,
Yeah,
and he talks about I'll wear a smile the next
Yeah.
time I see you, or well, like he's forcing a smile
Yeah.
when he sees her for her eyes, kind of thing. And I thought,
Yeah.
well, that's all. It's kind of a little bit depressing in the way that, but it's a nice song. So
but he fell in love with someone else, and
yeah.
he's going to not allow, I guess, his relationship of the past to interfere with it,
Yeah.
and not let her realize. You
Really,
know,
I'll put a smile on for you.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's kind of odd. And then we go to Ambulance Blues,
Yeah.
which is really the.
Well, there's a lot of about drug abuse. That you know,
It
it's
sort
got,
of follows his career. He goes back into the old folky days
Yep.
in Toronto.
yeah,
And then he's talking about Isabella, and I guess Isabella, what I was reading, was a building that he stayed in,
okay,
and they tore it down.
Right.
And that's why you don't know if it was. It sounds like it's a relationship or something, but
Well,
actually it was a building.
I thought it was a person that he knew. Actually, I
So
didn't
did
know
I.
that. I didn't
No,
know.
I read
that.
about it, and
That's
that-
interesting.
Yeah, it's like he.
It makes sense actually.
He
you
talks about cars a lot and puts them,
Yep.
and they sound like people.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
his relationship to cars over the years.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he's a car guy,
Yeah.
anyways. Yeah.
And then he refers to Nixon, and on the newspaper on the front, it's like, what's it say? Senator Buckley calls for resignation of Nixon.
Yeah.
Jeez, I can't read.
Yeah, well, I can't read it
it's
on
a little
this.
tiny,
Yeah.
tiny. We'll try to read it on there.
No, no.
So, and then he goes through. I think he talks about kidnappers, and I think he was referring to Patty Hearst.
Patty Hearst.
And then pay the kidnappers.
Yeah.
But it's this definite stream of consciousness on that
Sort
album,
of
'cause
tongue in cheek with a lot
it
of the
is
stuff,
It's
you
the
know.
same kind of groove
Yeah.
through it, and it's just
Yeah.
the lyrics go from one thing to another thing, which is. And then he talks about pissing in the wind, which I guess his manager at the time said to him one time, you're just pissing in the wind.
Yeah.
You should be getting back together with
Yeah.
Crosby, Stills, and Nash
Yeah.
type of thing, or
Telling him
something.
he's wasting his time.
You guys are all just pissing
Yeah.
in the wind.
Yeah.
You should be
Yeah.
doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I always thought that was an interesting.
Yeah,
line.
yeah. Well, of course, you're talking about an individual here who I think is quite moody.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that kind of comes through on this album.
Yeah.
I think more than on the other earlier albums, his first three albums,
He's
doesn't.
kind of turning his back on his career, on Harvest, because it became such a big thing, and by
And-
doing that, he's alienating himself,
And that they were, there was a lot of drug abuse
Yeah.
and alcohol was getting into the picture. Probably more. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if
Yeah, I
I'm
think he
thinking
was-
back. I'm thinking back in the '70s. I know where we were
Yeah.
and what we were doing. And well, what can I say? So if you
you mean
kind
we
of
weren't good little boys?
yeah, well, depended on the day, I suppose.
Yeah.
But at any rate, it's an album. I feel that grows on you, and the more
Definitely.
you listen to it,
The more you
and the
get out
more
of it.
yes, and you as you understand it a little bit more, and the music is different
Yeah.
than his previous work. You know what I mean? It's different.
Well, his music is usually not really overcomplicated, and this isn't overcomplicated, but it's the simplicity that kind of drives the songs, because there's not a lot of changes in some of them.
No, but he's going from like a blues to a rock flavor to a ballad flavor
Folky
through it
kind
all.
of, yeah.
And again, although each one individually stands on its own,
Yeah.
it still flows. The album still
all
flows
goes
together.
together
It
as a-
does. It
yeah,
does.
it's amazing.
I remember listening to it years ago when you gave me the very first copy I
Yeah.
had a long time ago.
Bootleg, or is that-
Yeah, well, and I really liked it.
Yeah.
But I didn't pay that much attention to it,
Not lyrically wise.
No.
I didn't. It was just kind of
It was just
following
a
it.
good old Neil Young album type of thing,
a
you
little
know,
different. And,
different
yeah.
and. But anyways, I've grown to really like it. I
Yeah.
like the album, and I
I've
think
listened to it a lot in the last few weeks, and
Oh.
I'm right up there with it.
yeah. So this is it.
So this is Neil Young's "On the Beach." Mike has a copy that's first time on CD.
Yeah, it says on
He got it
this.
secondhand, so I don't know if they actually put a lot of those out on CD. I'll
I
tell you
don't
the
know.
truth.
I
But
really don't know.
I picked this up a couple of weeks ago. I used to have it on vinyl, of course, and I got it for like $20.
Yeah,
And it's in
good.
good shape. Just had to have it. I just mainly for the cover more than anything else, because I got the CD.
like
so.
buying a painting, man.
Yeah. It's just like it works so well on that
Yeah.
size. So, anyways, that's "On the Beach" by Neil Young, live from the Shack Shack.